made their own movie. It's called The Evil Dead. They took a lot of time, a lot of effort to pull it together. We'll see how they're trying to make it in big-time cinema. Me tonight have anything to say about it. You'll hear about it very soon. Tonight is the world preview of this movie right here in Birmingham at the Bloomfield Theater. But before we go inside and take a look at this very scary, very gruesome movie, we're going to learn a little bit about what it takes to make a movie and sell it in today's market. When you think of making movies, you think of Hollywood. Big studios, big names, big bucks. But what if you're not in the big time? What if you live near Detroit, don't have a lot of money, but do have some great ideas for a movie? If you always cheer for the underdog, you're going to love Renaissance Pictures of Ferndale, Michigan, and the three young men whose very first film won them a standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival, a ringing endorsement from horror writer Stephen King, and which ironically has yet to find an American distributor. It's a success story that reads like a script for a movie. All it needs is a happy ending. First, our cast of characters. Bruce Campbell, 24, an aspiring actor with a realistic approach to finding work.
Our route was if you can't audition for a feature film in town, then you make it.
Rod Taffert, at 27, the old man of the group, with a keen business understanding of the obstacles they faced.
We were just out to prove that we could make a film the first time and that it could make money, and from that point we'd go on and make other pictures.
And Sam Raimi, the 22-year-old writer-director who had the gall to believe they could actually pull this movie thing off.
To think of the whole process from conception to sitting in a theater with the popcorn and then seeing it bigger than life in front of you is really a great thrill.
Now, our heroes didn't come by their confidence without earning it. 4 years ago, they teamed up on a little effort they called the Happy Valley Kid. Not exactly a technical masterpiece, but it became something of a cult classic on the campus of Michigan State University.
This guy's nuts. What's wrong with you?
You probably guessed this was a low-budget film, $700 to be exact. But the important thing is that it made $5,600. In the business, that's known as a good track record. Anyone knows the worst sin to commit in showbiz is to lose money. That fact was the guiding light in choosing a topic for their first big project.
We felt that the horror film had the best marketability. It had a sure market. There's always horror films playing in the drive-ins. So that's what we decided to do because it was a sure shot, or the surest of shots for beginners.
The three of us, when we got together, knew that we could make a movie, and it was convincing all the people who had money that we could do it. So we took money that we had ourselves working as busboys and cab drivers and shot a short, a 30-minute short, which we ran out at the Punch and Judy Theater. And we used that really as an investment tool. We took it to Investor's House with our little projector, and we'd set it up. They'd have a dinner party, and we'd set it up afterwards and proceed to make them all sick with our little short horror film. So, but that was really our best-selling tool.
Now comes Scene 3, a word from our sponsors. The guys needed about $500,000, cheap by Hollywood standards, but a lot of money to Detroit investors less familiar with movie making. People like Detroit attorney Brian Manoogian were ultimately convinced by a very well-planned financial package with good tax benefits. And maybe they had a little touch of stardust in their eyes when they wrote out their checks.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's part of the excitement of the whole project, that you can say, you know, when it's all done, gee, I was part of that project. Without me, maybe they couldn't have made the project.
So you're a little bit of a mogul.
Yeah, I think so.
So now Renaissance Pictures had some money, and a great script by wonder kid Raimi, and a leading man waiting in the wings. But it turned out to be more difficult than expected hiring local actors, especially when they had to call them with a line like,
"We're making a horror film down in Tennessee. Would you like to come for an audition?" "I don't think so, no."
Finally, a cast was assembled, and Renaissance Pictures began a 3-month baptism by fire into movie making.
We started shooting down in Tennessee in middle of November. We went down because we didn't think it would snow in Michigan. We got down there. It was the coldest winter they've ever had. And the cabin had no heat, marginal running water, just cold.
It was incredibly hard work, and it was the craziest thing I've ever done. And getting your fingers real dirty is okay. Being covered with blood keeps you pretty humble, I think. But It's the most, absolutely without question, the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Just putting on makeup was often a long ordeal, especially in a horror movie where looks are everything. At times, scenes were reshot with stand-ins in a studio in order to refine special effects for maximum impact.
Cheryl, you begin by struggling, and you stop your struggling as soon as Rob's mind comes off. Fog it, slate it, action. And watch.
After months of filming and editing, The Evil Dead was a real movie, and a good one. Chapter 4 of our hero's saga opens in France at the Cannes International Film Festival. Critics and crowds at the festival loved it. European film distributors snapped it up with contracts that would cover 40% of the film's costs. And Stephen King, author of Carrie and The Shining, became an instant fan of the film and its writer. In an article to be published in November's issue of Twilight Zone magazine, King called the movie the most ferociously original horror film of 1982. Meanwhile, back in America, it was time for another premiere. Not in Hollywood, but once again in suburban Detroit, with a midnight crowd of horror fanatics. And the audience loved it.
It has to be the absolute best horror movie ever made.
This was the best, the grossest, and I loved every bit of it.
It was just fright, just non-stop grueling fright.
Yes, it was, now, and I don't want to see a movie again.
It's all music to their ears. And now the boys from Renaissance are waiting for the final chapter in their first story. Can't you just feel it's going to have a happy ending?
Can The Evil Dead be stopped? And can the movie get started well enough to make some good money for our young heroes? Watch your local movie houses to find out the answer. And keep your fingers crossed for one of Michigan's fledgling cinema groups, Renaissance Productions.